Okay? When we solve or when we have a solution or an x-intercept or a zero or a root, that is when we have solved and we have x equals some number. Yes? Do we know the difference between a factor and a solution or an x-intercept or a root? Okay. Factor is in parentheses. Once you solve that for x, then it's a solution. Okay. All right, so let's review. Find the solutions. Okay, now if we want to find the solutions, are we finding the parentheses or are we finding the x equals?
X equals.
Yes, okay. So it says find the solutions. What's our first step? Label A, B, and C and split the middle. Okay, so we're going to split the middle with our x squared plus x minus 20. So I will do 1 times negative 20, which is negative 20. All right, tell me the ways that can multiply negative 20.
5 and 4.
5 and 4.
2 and 10.
1 and 20. Okay, which set could add to a positive 1?
5 and 4.
5 and 4, but which one's going to have to be negative?
The 4.
The 4, because 5 minus 4 is positive 1. Okay, now we can split our middle terms. And it doesn't matter which one goes where. Okay, you can do the minus 4x and then the plus 5x, however you want to do it. Okay, group, and then get your parentheses or your factors. Okay, so we have x plus 5 and x minus 4. Oops. As our factors. Then you did.
Oh, never mind. I thought you said x plus 5, 4.
Okay, so when we get here, to solve is when we use our zero product property. So we're going to set both equal to 0, and we're going to solve them. This is old news, right? We've been doing this already. So we get x equals negative 5 and x equals 4. Some of you may already have noticed a pattern. Has anybody noticed a pattern when they do this process?
It'll be the x, it's going to be the opposite of it.
Yes. If you look at the factor, okay, let's label it. If you look at the factor or factors, okay, when you look at the solutions, they're just the opposite sign. It's just x equals the opposite sign. Now, if you have something like 2x minus 1, okay, that gets a little hairy, right, because you have to solve it and make sure that your fraction's fine, but it's still an opposite sign.
It still works because if it's 2x plus 1, you just minus the 1. And
Right, so it's, yes, it's still the opposite sign. It's not going to change anything, okay? But that's the pattern that is going to kind of drive a lot of what we're going to talk about today, okay? Woo! You see that slip? That could have been bad. All right.
Right when I looked away.
Yeah, it was.
Right when I looked away.
I think this is the mark right here.
Yeah, you can take this, yeah.
Okay, the one bad thing about wearing heels. Okay, example 1. Suppose x equals 3 is a solution, right? We've talked about difference between solution and factor. Solution x equals factor parentheses, okay? But suppose x equals 3 is a solution to your function. To get the solution, what equation did we solve? Gavin? X minus 3. That looks terrible. Okay, we solved x minus 3 equals 0 because we're talking about the fact that they're just opposite signs. So what does that look like as a factor? X minus 3 in parentheses. So the factor was x minus 3. The solution was x equals 3, opposite signs. Okay, so if we have the solution x equals negative 2, what does that look like as a factor? X plus 2, opposite sign. Okay, so now, this is new. Okay, we can write the factored form. Again, what does it mean to have a factor? Parentheses. So we can write the factored form, bless you, of this quadratic. And you can probably guess what that's going to look like. A factored form is both factors put together. Okay, so we would take our x minus 3 and our x plus 2. That is the factored form of this quadratic. Does that make sense? Okay, now let's pause. If I was to look at the graph, visual, okay, what significance is 3 and negative 2? It's the x-intercepts, right? It's where the graph crosses your x-axis. So all we're doing is we're writing it as a factor. And then if we want to get this form, the general form, what do I do to these? We FOIL. We multiply those together. Under multiply, I want you to put FOIL there, okay? Because that's how we usually refer to it. So we can write the factored form, and then we can FOIL it, and we will get the standard form. Is there a place for you to factor it? Yeah, go ahead and factor it. I think you should be able to factor it, or FOIL it, I'm sorry. Go ahead and FOIL it right under there. I want you to do that on your own, okay? So you're FOILing x minus 3, x plus 2. Did you do it? Huh? Did you already do it? Okay, we should get x squared minus x minus 6, yes? Yes. Okay. So, do you notice that this is the opposite of factoring? Okay, we have been taking these, right? We've been taking these and going the other direction and finding the x-intercepts. Now, if I give you the x-intercepts, you should be able to find the equation of the graph, and then put it in Desmos and make sure it's right. Okay, so it's kind of cool. All right, so it says finally verify your answers by graphing the quadratic to the right. And we can do this, but I want to use Desmos. So go ahead and pull up Desmos. Okay, and we're going to do something just to kind of look at some similarities here. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. In your first line, put the factored form. X minus 3, x plus 2. Is that what it was? Yeah. Okay. Factored form. Okay? Because here's how you can really check your work. If I put in the x squared minus x minus 6, what should happen? Overlap, right? They should be the exact same. If they don't overlap, do you have the correct equation? No. Call Ghostbusters or call Mrs. Chris. Okay, so if I just click this off, you can see that they're overlapping. Okay, those are overlapping. That's a perfect way to check your work. Go ahead and sketch just a rough graph there on the bottom. Okay, you want your x-intercepts to be the 3 and negative 2. And then your vertex, if you kind of want to get close, should be 0.5 and then negative 6.25. Doesn't need to be beautiful. So that's fine. Mine's not great, but that's fine. Okay, I want you to make a note if you haven't already done this. Okay, when we have an x-intercept, okay, or when it's solved, it's going to be x equals a number. When we have a factor, it's going to be in parentheses. Okay, that is going to drive a lot of what we're doing. Huh? Oh, you're scared. They're old. Okay. Example 2. Now we're going to fly through this. Okay? Example 2, question 8. Does the graph to the right represent a function? That was day, 3 of our school year. Does anybody remember how to tell if a graph represents a function?
If you do the vertical line test, it only goes to one.
Yes, vertical line test, and it only crosses one time. Okay? Will it pass? Yes, it is a function. Okay, you can put VLT for vertical line test as your proof. Okay? Now, let me ask you a general question about quadratics. Will all quadratics be functions?
No, because there's ones that only have one.
Okay, let's rephrase that. Will all quadratics pass the vertical line test?
Yes.
What do quadratics look like? A U, right? Or an upside down, an in. Would those pass the vertical line test all the time? Yes. Huh? What's that?
Exponents, like those cancel out. It's not a function.
It doesn't affect being a function.
Okay, I don't remember anything linear.
It doesn't affect being a function. So in a quadratic or a parabola, those will always be functions. Fun fact. Okay? All right, part B. State the x-intercepts. So obviously we know what those are. -3, 0, and 1, 0. Okay? Use those x-intercepts. Here we go. Okay, this is our new part for today. Use those x-intercepts from above to write the equation in factored form. Pause.
I got it.
What is factored? Tell us.
Parentheses.
Parentheses. Okay, so if I want to write -3 as a factor, what's that going to look like? X plus 3, right? We're switching the sign. What about 1? X minus 1. Okay? What is part D asking you to do? Raise your hand. Somebody tell me. What is D asking of you? What is D asking of you? Abby? To FOIL. Okay? It's saying write it in standard form. That means FOIL. Okay? I'm going to let you do that. Do you agree with me?
Yeah.
X squared plus 2x minus 3. How can we check our answer? Put it in Desmos.
Oh. Yeah, put it in What's that even stand for before? Beautiful free math.
Yeah, beautiful.
Because that's what it said like on the.
No, it is. But like we were the original like.
Okay, if you look, they overlap. Okay, they should overlap. All right, so our solutions are what? -3 and 1. Okay, now example 3, very similar to this, but something happens in example 3 that's a little different. Okay, so tell me, what are our x-intercepts here?
0 and 2.
0, so we write it as 0, 0, and 2, which we write as 2, 0. Okay, it says in part B, use those x-intercepts to write the equations in factored, what does that mean? Parentheses. Factored form. Now, hold on a second. I'm only going to write one parenthesis. Can anybody tell me why?
Because the 0 it won't go to anything.
Yes. Does anybody know how we represent 0 in factored form? X. Do you remember when you were factoring and solving, anytime you had x equals 0, it was an x out here by itself? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully, I know it didn't happen all the time. But anytime you have an x-intercept of 0, that just means you have an x outside. Okay, an x outside. How would we write 2? Ooh, I just spit. That was gross. How do we write 2 as, I'm just being real. How do we write 2 as, and factor?
X minus 2.
X minus 2.
Looking away. Like you slipped and I missed it. You spit minus it. You need to
Good, you have no ammo against me. Okay. Now, to here you get the standard form. Do we FOIL this time? No. Okay, so most of the time we'll FOIL, but yeah, I heard it. Distribution. Okay, x times x is x squared. X times -2 is -2x. Okay, trust me, we put it in Desmos, it works, and you have 0 and 2 as your x's. Okay, now, I do not want you to... No, good. Okay, you're going to do mixed practice day 1. Okay, and I do not want you to do day 2. Okay, do not do that. But you're going to do mixed practice day 1. It's just the front of the sheet. If you go to the very back page, the solutions are there for you. Yes?
Yeah.
If it says day 2, are we going to do it?
No.
Beautiful. All right, go ahead and get to work. Okay, you only have about 8 minutes.
Oh my goodness gracious.
9 minutes.
have a test.
Don't stress me out.
Yeah,
I don't like this.